Okay, it's February 2026. And if you just, take a look around at the culture right now,
Yeah.
movies, TV, even just your tech feed, it feel like we are absolutely obsessed with the future.
Oh, completely. It's all AI, digital utopias or dystopias. Everything is sleek and shiny and next.
Which makes the show that everyone in Britain is talking about right now so interesting because the biggest, most acclaimed show of the moment, it isn't looking forward at all.
No, it's looking way, way back.
To, what, 16th century alchemy?
In a garden shed in Manchester.
Right. Not a wizard's tower, a shed surrounded by
Piles of horse manure, yeah.
We will definitely get to the manure. But today we are doing a deep dive into Small Profits, the new 6-part series from Mackenzie Crook. And I mean, calling it just a comedy feels...
A bit small, yeah, I think so. We've been through all the reviews, The Guardian, The Times, The Telegraph are all raving. We've got production notes from Drama Quarterly and Sphere Advocate, some great cast interviews.
And the mission today is basically to figure out how this show, a show about growing tiny people in jars, became what one critic is calling an impossible marvel.
It's a huge claim.
It is. But this feels like it's about more than just a TV show. It's about this whole genre of gentle comedy, about grief and, finding magic in the most mundane places imaginable.
And to get that, you really have to start with the creator, with Mackenzie Crook.
Right, because for a lot of people, he's still Gareth from The Office.
The guy with the haircut, yeah.
Or Brigetti, the pirate with the wooden eye.
Iconic roles, for sure. But he's quietly become this really interesting auteur in British television. This is not his first time writing and directing.
No, if you saw his last show, Detectorists, you kind of get the vibe. I loved Detectorists. It was so quiet.
Very quiet, low stakes, just two friends in a field.
It's looking for treasure and mostly finding junk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where that label gentle comedy came from. We saw in an interview with Drama Quarterly, he used to hate that term.
Really?
He thought gentle was, polite way of saying boring or unfunny.
Like it has no bite?
Precisely.
Wow.
But he says he's made peace with it. He realizes it just means uncynical, warm. And Small Profits is being called the spiritual successor to that, but he's taken that gentle, observational style and added
a supernatural twist.
A major supernatural twist.
So where does an idea like this even come from? Suburban alchemy isn't exactly a well-worn genre.
Well, this is a great story about creativity.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, Crook was reading a book on the 16th century alchemist Paracelsus.
Okay.
And he finds a footnote. Just a tiny little detail at the bottom of a page with a recipe for creating homunculi.
Which are little artificial people.
Prophesying spirits, yeah. Tiny humanoids you can grow in a jar. And he said he just held on to that idea for a whole decade.
Wow.
Just let it sit there. He knew he wanted to use it, but not in a big fantasy epic. He wanted to wrap a very real, very human story around this magical idea.
Which brings us to the actual premise, because on paper, the protagonist, Michael Sleep, it sounds pretty grim.
It is grim. Pearce Quigley plays him, and when we meet Michael, he is just stuck. He's in what the show calls suspended animation.
Because his partner, Clea, disappeared 7 years ago.
Just vanished. No answers, no closure, nothing. So he's frozen in time.
And his life reflects that. Messy house, dead-end job at a DIY store, a clapped-out Ford Capri.
It's a very specific kind of suburban purgatory. But then his dad, Brian, gives him an old journal.
And Brian is played by Michael Palin.
The legend himself, yeah. He gives Michael this old journal from his time in Egypt, and inside is that recipe, the Paracelsus recipe.
Let's get into the recipe because it's not what you'd expect. It's so earthy.
It's incredibly tactile. This is what the critics are calling the alchemical ordinary. To make these things, Michael needs rainwater, antique silver coins, amethyst crystals.
Herbs, right, like basil and frankincense.
And, of course,
manure.
A lot of horse manure. It's the incubator. It provides the heat for the whole thing to work.
There's something so brilliant about that, to create this divine, magical, prophesying life form.
You have to shovel manure.
Exactly.
And that contrast is the whole visual identity of the show. You have these gothic-looking spirits glowing in jars. But the jars are in a shed in a cul-de-sac called Marvin Gardens.
So he's performing these ancient rituals, and then the next shot is him eating a bowl of shreddies.
Yes. Sphere Abacus called it magic realism, grounded in the British suburbs. It's saying that if magic exists, it's not in some fantasy kingdom, it's behind the DIY store next to the motorway.
Let's talk more about the cast. You mentioned Pearce Quigley, who was also in Detectorists.
He was, yeah. He was the sidekick in that. But Crook apparently wrote this part specifically for him, to put him front and center.
Which is a bit of a risk, right? Taking the comic relief and making him your emotional lead.
It is, but every review says it pays off. Quigley has this mesmerizingly deadpan energy. He plays Michael as this bearded twitcher and hoarder. It's all internal. You feel his grief, but he's not crying all the time. He's just hollow.
Until the magic starts. And then you have Sir Michael Palin. I read he was basically coaxed out of retirement for this.
He was. And it's such a beautiful, poignant role. He plays Brian, Michael's dad, who's in a care home. But he's not the wise old mentor.
No.
He has dementia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He spends his days building these incredibly complex marble runs in his room. And he's the one who gives Michael a recipe, and this is the heartbreaking part, he doesn't remember that Clea is missing.
So he gives his son the key to finding the answer without even knowing his son has a question.
Exactly. It adds this whole other layer of tragedy. But the show balances the heavy stuff. There's Lauren Patel as Casey, his young co-worker at the store.
Their dynamic sounds great. The sources call it a platonic, gender-flipped Harold and Maude.
It's a perfect description. This middle-aged guy and this Gen Z girl, they mostly just bond over how much they despise their boss.
Who is Mackenzie Crook himself?
Yes, playing the villain. A horrible little manager named Gordon with a greasy ponytail. He's basically an evolution of Gareth Keenan, just a monster of petty workplace tyranny.
You need that, though. To ground the magic, you need the annoying boss and...
the nosy neighbors. You have the classic curtain twitchers, Clive and Bev. They get obsessed with Michael's overgrown garden, and later with a mysterious black rabbit that keeps appearing. It provides the comedy.
So we have this setup. The shed, the grief, the magic. I want to talk about how they made the magic. Because in 2026, you hear tiny magical people. You just assume it's CGI.
And you would be totally wrong. This is maybe the most fascinating part of the whole production. The show completely rejected CGI for the homunculi.
So what did they use?
Stop-motion animation.
Like old-school Ray Harryhausen, Wallace and Gromit.
Exactly like that. It was done by these BAFTA-winning animators, Ainsley Henderson and Will Anderson. And the process was intense. They were getting about 8 seconds of usable footage a day.
8 seconds a day? Why would you do that when a computer could generate it so much faster?
For the theme. Think about alchemy. It's physical, it's handmade, it's messy. If the spirits looked like some slick, weightless digital effect, it would ruin the whole feel of the show.
So they needed to feel real.
They needed to feel fragile and tactile, like they were actually made in that shed. It gives them this incredible texture that pixels just can't replicate. It makes the magic feel built.
Which ties into the music as well, right? The notes mention the soundtrack by Cinderwell.
Yeah, it's not your standard sitcom music. The reviews describe it as having folk horror dramatics and wonky charm. It creates this steampunk atmosphere in the shed. It tells you this isn't just a funny little project. This is strange and ancient.
Okay, so we have the look, the feel, the sound. But let's get to the real so what of this. Because there's a mechanic to these little creatures that creates a huge moral problem for Michael.
This is the real engine of the story. The homunculi, these impossible marvels, they're not just puppets, they're wise. But they have a very, very short lifespan.
Okay.
And here's the catch. Every single question Michael asks them, it shortens their lives. It brings them closer to death.
Wait, really? So he's literally burning through their life force to get information?
Precisely. It's this extractive, desperate process. And the choice becomes, does he use them up to get the one answer he craves? Where is Clea? Or does he preserve these beautiful, impossible things that he's created?
That is such a powerful metaphor for being stuck in grief.
It really is. The show is basically a warning about what one source called the anesthetizing effect of nostalgia.
Explain that. What do they mean by anesthetizing?
Michael is so obsessed with an answer from 7 years ago, from the past, that he's willing to destroy the miracle that's sitting right in front of him in the present. He's trading the wonder of the now for an answer about the then.
And it connects back to that whole theme of technology, of manual labor. He isn't just Googling for an answer.
No, the show celebrates the old ways. Tease maids, old radios, getting your hands dirty. It puts that slow, difficult physical work up against the instant, easy answers of AI or a search engine. It's suggesting that the process of looking is what matters.
But you have to do the work to heal.
You have to dig in the dirt. Literally.
Okay, we should probably touch on the ending. We'll keep it light on spoilers. But the sources say it's not a simple, happy resolution.
No, it's not a fairy tale. Michael does, eventually, get his answer. He